Hello world explorers, thanks for joining us again and welcome back to another exciting and informative video on our YouTube channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we want to thank you for watching. In this episode, we shall be diving deeper into the reason why the country of China is investing heavily in Nigeria and why China is so interested in Nigeria. We would explore this like never before seen. We will look at this from a geopolitical standpoint, the economic view, and also the reason why China has considered Nigeria to be a strategic partner in the continent of Africa. So we encourage you to watch this video to the end for clarity and better understanding. We have made lots of videos on this particular channel. If you are new here, we encourage you to check the entire channel for you to see more exciting and educating content regards the global African perspective. Without any more delay, let's just dive straight into it. In 2018, the White House criticized Chinese engagement in Africa, claiming that China was using bribes, APEC agreements, and debts to hold states in Africa captives to its interest. Amid global focus on China in Africa, it is worth exploring Chinese activities in Nigeria, given its role on the continent and its economic and demographic trajectory. Looking forward, public opinion has simplified the scope of Chinese interest in Nigeria to debt or resource acquisition. However, the Brookings Institute identified four broad dimensions of Chinese interest based on conversation with Chinese officials. Of these four particular interests, more attention was being focused on the areas of economic, Nigeria as a key trading partner, and security as Chinese seeks to protect its investment in the region. Looking at the economic aspect in terms of their trade and investment, Nigeria is Africa's biggest economy and the most populous nation. So China is incentivized to ensure that Nigeria's expanding middle class continues to buy Chinese manufactured goods. Nigeria offers Chinese companies a diverse range of lucrative commercial and trade opportunities, regardless of size. As of May of 2019, looking at statistics, Chinese companies had invested over $20 billion in over 150 firms in Nigeria. The importation of Chinese-made consumables and manufacturing goods to Nigeria underpins the two countries' trading relationship, as Nigeria is one of the largest and fastest-growing net importers of physical Chinese goods. Looking at figures of 2017, Nigeria's top import sources were China with over $9.6 billion, Belgium with over $3.5 billion, and the Netherlands looking at over $2.8 billion. Nigeria imports more from China than its other top two importer sources combined, and in the 2019 quarter two, Chinese goods accounted for a quarter of all import goods that move into the country of Nigeria. Looking at other aspects, Nigerian entrepreneurs make regular commercial pilgrimage to Chinese manufacturing centers like Guangzhou, where Chinese traders have come to rely on them for bulk purchases. Among African nationalities in Guangzhou, the two countries with by far the most people and West African nationalities of Nigeria and Mali are in this particular part of China. Conversely, Nigeria does not rank in the top 10 for Chinese import sources. Even within Africa, China imports more from Angola, South Africa, and the Republic of the Congo. Chinese imported $1.5 billion from Nigeria, looking at figures of 2017, equivalent to less than 0.1% of its total import. Despite Beijing insisting that the relationship is mutually beneficial, there is evidence that Chinese goods are flooding the Nigerian market in a way that is hammering local businesses. Unable to cope with this cheap import and increased smuggling, the domestic textile industry has been in hardest hit. Looking at figures of 2007, the head of the Nigerian Textile Manufacturers Association said that numbers of textile producers in the country has fallen from 200 to just 28. Looking at other aspects of Chinese businesses, Chinese manufacturing operations contribute to GDP growth but offers tough competition for local producers. According to the Chinese government, Chinese companies operating in Nigeria employed over 30,000 local workers, but this pales in comparison to over 350,000 manufacturing jobs that labor unions say have been lost because of Chinese imports. Ironically, many of the textile factories that have been forced to shut down were Chinese-owned plants, that had been operating in Kaduna since the 1970s. Like all matters of trade, an argument can be made for the against Chinese import in Nigeria. On one hand, Nigeria has welcomed the opportunity to trade with a lower-cost economy and enjoy cheaper merchandise. Yet, the nature and consistency of the grievance suggests that trading relationship benefits the Chinese more than Nigerians, or at the very least, China has exploited the relationship a lot more candidly than Nigeria. However, both countries are in a win-win situation in other strategic areas, as China considers Nigeria to be a leading strategic location for its operation in the region in terms of business and other very important relationships. If you are new to our channel, we will encourage you to subscribe and share our videos with your different network. If you consider the security of Chinese investment in the country of Nigeria, another resilient feature of Chinese in Nigeria is that China's state direct investment in major infrastructural and industrial projects. Many large Nigerian infrastructural projects are financed by low-interest Chinese loans. Chinese firms are in the process of executing more than over 20 billion in rail construction contracts across Nigeria in process already, including new commuter railways in Abuja and Lagos. Many Chinese firms operated in free trade zones, often overseen by Chinese-led management teams appointed by Nigerian government officials. These businesses are benefiting from the growing network of subnational commercial ties between Chinese provinces in Guangdong, Hebei, and Jiangxi, for example, and some Nigerian states, in order to avoid embarrassing attacks on its citizens or costly commercial setbacks in Nigeria. Chinese actively seeks to ensure security and stability in Nigeria. China sees its security interest in Nigeria as an offshoot of its trade priorities in the country. This is unlike the United Kingdom and other Western countries who view security concern as a major focus and actively deploy resources to work on this particular area. If you consider 2014, Chinese officials vowed to help Nigeria defeat Boko Haram along with some Western countries. The agreement was that China would provide any useful information required by Chinese satellites and intelligence services. However, those type of bilateral agreements are hard to implement and monitor as China actively pursues a non-interventionist policies in Nigeria. For this reason, Chinese security strategy in Nigeria is self-protected and reactive. Chinese businesses in the country of Nigeria rely on private guards, companies who are usually unarmed, and off-duty police officers to guard their facilities and personnel. Key economic figures like the Lamido Sanus have also been wary of Chinese attempting to helping resolve Nigeria's security issues under the guise of protecting its commercial interests. This sentiment highlights the fact that Nigeria needs to view China with some skepticism, as it does the West, and China is just as capable of economic and political colonization as those particular countries. If you look at the deep-rooted interest with regards to China in Nigeria, however, Chinese interest in Nigeria is not as deeply rooted as pundits imply. So to point out, China does not import much oil from Nigeria, preferring to rely on shipments from Russia, Venezuela, and also even in Angola. More importantly, and even moreover, Nigerian relationship with China seem to lack the strategic depth of other relationships in the continent of Africa. If you look back in 2013, Chinese President Xi Jinping announced Chinese One Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, an unprecedented road and maritime infrastructural development initiative to boost trade across the world and in Africa specifically. Nigeria joined over 65 countries in signing up for the Chinese-sponsored initiative, but there are also yet no direct trade routes through Nigeria in the BRI. As a contrast, in East Africa, there has been the construction of railway connecting Ethiopia and Djibouti and the internal railways in Kenya. These kinds of projects uses Chinese financing from financial institutions such as Exim Bank, who founded over 90% of the Kenya's project, and China's Merchant Holding Limited, with plans to potentially extend the line into Uganda and Rwanda. The boring interest is that Chinese strategic interests in Nigeria are still maturing and do not fit clearly into existing narrative. Nigeria's positions as a major importer of Chinese goods is potentially more contributing to the effect of globalization and the size of the country's consumer population than anything else. Not simply characterization, whether sugar-coated, Chinese official statements or critics, allegedly interior movies, and also economic exploitation adequately describes the two countries' evolving relationship. China has been a very important strategic partner for Nigeria, and Nigerians are also in China doing business. Most Nigerian professionals and business experts travel to China to purchase cheap Chinese goods, and also Nigerians benefit a lot from doing business in China. There are lots of Chinese companies and businesses, and China has invested billions in Nigeria. We all shall be looking on how this relationship move forward, looking at 2023-2024 with the new president in Nigeria at the moment, looking at the recent election. The world will be watching on how China negotiates its way with regards to its operation and strategic relationship with Nigeria. We want to thank you for watching. Hopefully we've informed you with regards to this complicated relationship in some areas with regards to China's interest in Nigeria. Let us know what you think about this as you go to the channel. If you are new here, we encourage you to check our entire channel for more inspiring and strategic videos for the African continent. We want to thank you for watching. We're looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.